The 2024-25 season will welcome a brand new UEFA Champions League format. It was announced earlier this campaign and was met with a mixed response, to put it lightly. But like it or not, it's coming this year, so it's crucial to get a grip on how it works. The new format features more teams, more games, and as a result, there is more money at stake. There are several massive changes to the format that you need to know about, so we've compiled a list of the 5 most important takeaways that you need to know. Let's start with the basics. 36 teams will enter the Champions League proper this season, up 4 from the previous 32. Certain leagues are receiving an extra berth moving forward, hence the clamour for coefficient points this season between England, Italy, Germany and France. All 36 of these teams are going to be placed in one giant table. It's no longer called the group stage, because there are no groups. It's called the league phase, because it's essentially one big league. Already, this feels completely different, alien even, as a 36-team table just looks incredibly weird. And honestly, this is just the start. More teams means more games. Every team in the Champions League will now play 8 games in the first phase, up from the previous 6. In order to find room for this in the schedule, some of these matches will be played in January, probably 2 of them. Again, this is very different, as in modern times the first phase of European football has always finished before Christmas. Now this brings a series of possible complications. Firstly, it means Champions League football will be played during a transfer window, whereas before, squads would always be reshuffled and re-registered before play resumed in February. And second, this may severely affect both nations who play a lot of games over the festive period, like England, Belgium and Turkey, or nations who go on a winter break, like Germany and Austria. Each nation and club will have to adjust to this in its own way, as it's brand new territory for many. Already, we've seen the knock-on effects in England, with FA Cup replays scrapped from the first round onwards. Drop-downs are gone. After years of people questioning their merit, they are gone. That's a natural byproduct of the fact there are no longer any groups, but UEFA have decided against awarding the bottom cluster of teams, which is the 12 who will exit the competition in January, a second life in a lesser tournament. So, to put it simply, once you're out, you're out. If you start the season in the Europa League, you will not meet anyone dropping out of the Champions League, and the same applies to those in the Conference League. In that sense, it's probably never been easier to win the Europa League or the Conference League if you qualify for it, as no big fish will drop down into your pool. Life as a pot 4 team in the Champions League has always been tough. In the current format, it means you're pretty much guaranteed to draw 3 teams bigger and or better than you, teams with more quality and more pedigree in European competition. But in the new format, things have changed slightly for pot 4 teams, and it's for the better. In your 8 games, you'll play 2 against pot 1 teams, 2 against pot 2 teams, 2 against pot 3 teams, and, crucially, 2 against fellow pot 4 teams. So, for the first time, there is true balance to each team's schedule. Those 8 games will be against 8 different opponents, drawn randomly, and the home and away decisions will be luck of the draw too. Here's an example of what a team's league phase schedule could look like. Now this is just as likely to be a pot 1 team schedule as it is a pot 4 team schedule. In previous formats, a pot 4 schedule would look more like this, which essentially cut out the 2 most winnable games. To make the knockout stages in February, you're going to need at least 8 points, possibly 10. If a pot 4 team wins its 2 fixtures against fellow pot 4 teams, that's 6 in the bank already. One more win, or a handful of draws, could keep you in the mix for the knockouts. This is an opportunity that simply did not exist for the bottom feeders before. Right, let's talk about the sharp end of the tournament. Here's how the knockouts work. Finishing in the top 8 of the table gets you through to the round of 16, skipping the playoff round, which is essentially a round of 32. As a rough benchmark, you're going to need at least 16 points, perhaps even 18, to finish this high. So that's at least 5 wins out of 8. It's tough. The playoff round is then contested by the teams who finish between 9th and 24th. They'll be seeded for the next round and then drawn against each other and play a 2-legged tie in February, and the winners qualify for the round of 16 to take on one of those top 8. From there, it's a pretty standard knockout format. quarterfinal, semi-final, final. If you win the competition having played in the playoff round, you'd have played a whopping 17 games, 8 in the league phase, then 9 more in the knockouts. That's grueling, likely very difficult to balance with domestic responsibilities, and would ensure the Champions League trophy is very well earned. Even if you qualify straight to the round of 16 and go on to win, it's 2 more games than before as a result of that expanded first phase. At a time where the number of games players are playing is under intense scrutiny, thanks in part to a much more open conversation about player welfare, UEFA adding games to the tournament hasn't gone down particularly well. But while that's undoubtedly a negative, there's plenty of reasons to be optimistic about this new format and the excitement it could bring, once we've all adjusted to it, of course.